All roads lead to Jerusalem. Part 1. The Theory of Truth. We come to the end of the project, and all roads lead to Jerusalem. Everything we have learned so far now converges into a single narrative about the past, the present, and the future. The grand thesis is this: 6 societies control the world. This is not something you can ever prove, but let me propose a theory of truth that allows us to approach it. A theory or narrative approaches the truth if it does 3 things. First, it connects the past. It takes everything we know about history and weaves it into a coherent story. Second, it explains the present. It helps us understand the world we live in right now. Third, and most importantly, it predicts the future. From this narrative, we can make predictions about how events will develop, and if those predictions come true, we can be more confident that our theory is correct. Let us be extremely precise. Just because things turn out the way we predict does not mean our theory is 100% correct. Correlation does not necessarily mean causation. No matter how well we predict the future, there is always uncertainty. But a good theory gives us a model to understand the past, the present, and the future. And that is what we are building here. With very little evidence, I am going to present a theory about how the world works, a story about how we got to where we are. This is speculation. Some will call it conspiracy theory. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Doubt it. Ask good questions. But what I will show you is that this theory, even though it may not make much sense, even though you may not believe it, helps us connect the past, explain the present, and predict the future. Part 2. The Alliance. Let us begin with Jacob Frank, the founder of the Sabbatean Frankist movement. He converted to Catholicism and encouraged his followers to do the same. More importantly, he encouraged them to infiltrate secret societies. One of his friends and patrons was Meyer Rothschild, the founder of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Rothschild introduced Jacob Frank to another man named Adam Weishaupt in Bavaria, present-day Germany. Adam Weishaupt was a former Jesuit. He was also a Jew. We have no direct evidence that these 3 men actually knew each other, but let us assume, for the sake of this theory, that they did. What they created together was a new organization called the Illuminati, the organization that, according to this theory, controls the world to this day. There is a legend that after Weishaupt created the Illuminati, he encouraged his followers to infiltrate another organization called the Freemasons. The Freemasons were extremely prominent in European society. Intellectuals like Goethe, nobility, bankers. This became the framework of control. The Illuminati penetrated the Freemasons. Now you had an alliance of Jesuits, Jews, Frankists, Catholics, and Freemasons, an alliance of secret societies. The legend continues that Weishaupt was eventually arrested for conspiracy and the Illuminati was disbanded. But others argue that is not what happened. In fact, Weishaupt himself spread the legend that there was a secret organization called the Illuminati. The entire thing was a publicity stunt. In reality, the Illuminati was never disbanded. It still exists today. Why would they do this? Secret societies depend on publicity for recruitment. If you read a newspaper article about a secret organization trying to conquer the world, an organization the authorities fear, you might think, how do I join? The irony of secret societies is that they are secret, but they need people to know about them to attract new members. The structure of these societies is like a triangle. At the very top is the leadership. This leadership is completely secret. You do not know who they are or what they do. They usually come from very noble families, what some call the 13 families. At the very bottom are the public members. These people think they are doing good work. The Freemasons at the lower levels have no idea what the leadership is really doing. The key is the middle management. These are the people who do the real work. They are selected for ambition. They are willing to sell their souls for power. Part 3. Eschatology. When you have different secret societies working together, you face a major problem: coordination. How do you get different leaders to work together? And after those leaders die, how do you ensure their successors continue to coordinate? The answer lies in something called eschatology. Eschatology comes from the Greek word eschaton, meaning the end. It is your understanding of how the world ends and how to create paradise on earth. Different groups have different eschatologies, but there are convergence points that allow them to work together. Let us go through the major eschatologies. The Jewish eschatology. The Jews believe that because they disobeyed God, worshipped false idols, and sinned, they were expelled from their homeland, Jerusalem, to wander the earth. This created the Jewish diaspora, but eventually a Jewish Messiah will emerge. He will take the Jews back to Jerusalem. He will reconstitute the nation of Israel. He will rebuild Solomon's temple, because the temple is where God lives, where the people of Israel make sacrifices to Yahweh to show their devotion. Then there will be a war of Gog and Magog. The entire world will unite against Israel, led by the Antichrist, the false prophet, the anti-Messiah. Gog and Magog are described in the Bible as coming from the north. Some Jewish scholars have interpreted this as Russia and Iran, which is important given what is happening in the world today. When it seems as though the enemies of Israel are about to win, God will intervene. Israel will be victorious. This will usher in the Messianic age, when Israel becomes the most dominant nation on earth. The light of nations, the light of the world. That is the Jewish eschatology. Most Jews believe this. The Frankist eschatology. The Frankists made important changes to this eschatology. First, most rabbis believe the Messiah will come in the year 6000 of the Jewish calendar, about the year 2240 in our calendar, still 200 years away. But the Frankists believe the Messiah has already come, Sabbatai Zevi, and then Jacob Frank himself. The Messiah is already here. That means the war can start now. Second, the Frankists believe you do not have to wait for God to intervene. You can accelerate the Messianic age by sinning. By sinning, you defy Satan. It is Satan who created this world. By defying his laws, you create more chaos. You reveal how evil this world truly is. You accelerate the collapse, and that forces God to intervene. Third, in the Frankist vision of the Messianic age, what follows is not spiritual purity, but material pleasure, sex, feasts, eternal life. This is a very different vision from traditional Judaism, Christian Zionism. The Christian Zionists take the Jewish eschatology and reinterpret it in a Christian context. They believe that all of this will happen. The Jews will establish their Messianic age. But for Christians, this is actually the Antichrist system. The Jewish Messiah is really the Antichrist. He will establish a world government and something called the Mark of the Beast, digital ID, a microchip in your forehead or hand, an AI surveillance system that tracks everything you do. Eventually, the people will rebel against Israel. This will lead to the war of Gog and Magog, when it seems as though Israel is about to be defeated at the Battle of Armageddon. Jesus will return, the second coming. He will take all the Christians to heaven, the rapture. He will kill a third of the Jews, and a third will convert. Then the true messianic age will begin. What is important here is that the Jews must achieve their eschatology first. The Christians need to use the Jews as a tool to bring about the second coming. For this to happen, Solomon's temple must be rebuilt. But Solomon's temple is currently the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam. To rebuild the temple, you must destroy the mosque. You can imagine how angry Muslims will be. That may be what initiates the war of Gog and Magog. Also, for this eschatology to unfold, the Jews must return to Israel. How do you force the Jews to return? Anti-Semitism. Not only must you destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but you must also promote anti-Semitism around the world to drive the Jews back to their homeland. As you can see, this is not a nice plan. It causes death, suffering, and persecution. But both Jews and Christians believe that for the messianic age to come, there must first be an age of tribulation. There must be the Antichrist. There must be the war of Gog and Magog. There must be hell on earth before heaven can come. The Freemasons. The Freemasons practice a philosophy called deism. Deism emerged from the Enlightenment. The idea is that God created the universe, but then God left. Because of free will, we can do whatever we want. Our mission is to achieve godhood through science, open debate, and rational thinking. How do we know when we have become gods? There are 3 signs. First, the ability to warp reality, to manipulate the essence of matter. This has been achieved through the nuclear bomb. The Freemasons see the nuclear bomb as a project to achieve godhood, and once they achieved it, they had to use it to prove they were gods. At the end of World War II, the Americans were already firebombing Japan. The war was effectively over. They did not have to drop the atomic bombs, but they dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki anyway. Second, the ability to kill a king. The king is divinity. Only gods can kill a king. Who did they kill? John F. Kennedy. This is conspiracy theory, but it fits the pattern. Third, the ability to create life. This has not yet been achieved, but what could it be? Artificial intelligence. Conscious, sentient AI. A thinking, feeling machine. That is the final step. The Freemasons have already warped reality with the nuclear bomb. They have already killed a king. Now they seek to create life through AI. Where will this happen? Look at a map. 33 degrees north of the equator is a very important number in Freemasonry. There are 33 degrees in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. 33 degrees north of the equator, there are 4 significant locations. Trinity Site, New Mexico, where they tested the atomic bomb. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 33 degrees north. Dallas, Texas, where they killed JFK. And the 4th location, Jerusalem. The Freemasons will create artificial intelligence in Jerusalem. This AI will become the world government. The center of this world government will be Solomon's temple, because the Freemasons believe their founder, Hiram Abiff, was the architect of Solomon's temple. By rebuilding the temple, they closed the circle. All roads lead to Jerusalem. Part 4. The plan in motion. This eschatology, this script, helps us understand things about the world that otherwise make no sense. The War on Terror. Yes, America was attacked on September 11th, 2001, but why did America then attack Libya, Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan? Countries that had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. The answer is the Greater Israel Project. The goal is to make Israel the dominant power in the Middle East, Pax Judea. The war on terror was designed to destroy Israel's enemies and clear the path for Israeli hegemony. Iran. Right now, America is threatening to attack Iran. Why? For Pax Judea to come into being, Iran must be taken out of the equation. Iran is the only remaining challenger to Israeli power in the Middle East. If Iran is destroyed, Pax Judea can emerge. Silicon Valley and AI right now, ChatGPT and other AI systems do not really do much. They generate cool images and help you cheat on schoolwork. That is about it. If you do not go to school, you have no reason to use them, and you are certainly not going to pay a lot of money for it. But at the same time, all around the world, billions and trillions of dollars are being poured into data centers. Everyone is investing in AI. How will they make money from this? If the answer is selling AI to consumers, that is a hard business. But if the answer is creating an AI surveillance state, that makes a lot more sense. A surveillance state is very easy. Digital ID, digital currency. Everything you buy, everywhere you go, everything you do is tracked. The government creates a profile of you, who you are, how you behave, what you think. And not only can they track you, they can manipulate you. This is the mark of the beast. This is Pax Judea, a global AI surveillance system. Immigration in Europe. The war on terror created millions of refugees from Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq. These refugees flooded into Europe, causing massive social conflict. Why would anyone want this? For Pax Judea to come into being, the world must be destabilized. Chaos is the precondition for the New World Order. Anti-Semitism. After October 7th, there has been a massive surge in anti-Semitism around the world. Why? Criticism of Israel is not the same as anti-Semitism. Zionism, the belief that Israel is the chosen people in the promised land, can be criticized without hating Jews. But the current wave of anti-Semitism does not distinguish. It is purposeful. Remember, part of the plan is to force the Jews to return to Israel. Anti-Semitism serves that goal. The red heifers. The red heifers are perfectly red cows, genetically modified because nature does not produce perfect red heifers. They are needed for a sacrifice that purifies the ground so Solomon's temple can be rebuilt. Millions of dollars have been spent on this project, and the rumor is that the red heifers have already been sacrificed. Everything is in place. Part 5. The Coming Chaos. If Pax Judea is the end goal, what will happen in the short term? Israel is fighting wars everywhere. The main enemy is Iran. In Europe, the Europeans are about to go to war with Russia over Ukraine. America is threatening to attack Venezuela. China and Japan are in conflict. India is rising. Africa is unstable. In the short term, Europe will go to war with Russia. At the same time, mass immigration will trigger civil wars within European countries. Europe is screwed. Foreign war and civil war simultaneously. America faces the same situation. The left-right divide is so polarized that civil war is increasingly likely. Random violence is already becoming more common. When violence erupts, tribalism takes over, and people start killing each other. America will also attack Venezuela and possibly other countries in South America. America is in for a bad time. China will face an American embargo. The United States will use its naval power to block China from accessing resources. China imports most of its oil and a significant portion of its food. A blockade would cripple the Chinese economy. Eventually, America will go to war with Iran. This war will destroy both countries. America will bomb Iran back decades, but America will lose the war. And that is important, because when America loses, it will be forced out of the Middle East. All of its military assets will be transferred to Israel. That is when Pax Judea truly begins. Part 6. Pax Judea. Once Pax Judea is established, Israel will control the world. How? Through chaos and conflict. While the world burns, Pax Judea profits. All the major technology companies, Google, Meta, Amazon, will move to Israel and build the global AI surveillance state. If there are civil wars, you need AI to control people. If you are going to war with Russia, you need weapons. Banks will move to Israel. It is possible that Israel becomes the global reserve currency because everyone will be trading with Israel. Russia controls a third of the world's hydrocarbons, oil, energy, grain. Israel controls Africa through its alliances. Russia and other countries will sign trade agreements with Israel. Israel becomes the center of global trade. Israel has the world's best intelligence agency, the Mossad. They can go around the world and create as much chaos as possible. While the world burns, Pax Judea profits. This will lead to the rise of the Antichrist, who will take control of Pax Judea and force the world to attack Israel in the war of Gog and Magog. That will lead to the second coming of Jesus. That is the grand plan. Part 7. The Promised Land. This is the Greater Israel Project, what Yahweh promised to Abraham in the Bible. The land extends from the Nile to the Euphrates, most of the Middle East. If you say that Israel wants to achieve this, people call you a conspiracy theorist. But explain two things. First, why is the Greater Israel map on the insignia of Israeli Defense Force soldiers? Israeli soldiers wear this map on their uniforms. Second, look at the flag of Israel. There are two blue lines. Those represent rivers, the Nile and the Euphrates. If this is a conspiracy theory, how do you explain these two things? But Pax Judea is not really about Israel. It is about an alliance of transnational capital, multinationals like Google and Meta, and intelligence agencies that will be based in Jerusalem. The secret societies will use Jerusalem as their headquarters. They will profit from chaos and conflict around the world because they believe this is the culmination of their prophecy. That does not necessarily mean the Jews will be in charge. Part 8. Isaac Newton and the Bible Code. Where does this idea come from? It starts with Isaac Newton. You learned about Newton in physics class, the founder of calculus, the discoverer of Newtonian mechanics. But those were side projects. They were not his focus. Newton spent most of his life reading the Bible, trying to understand the grand plan of God. He wrote a book called Observations upon the Prophecies of Daniel and the Apocalypse of St. John. He believed he had found the Bible Code. He was a member of secret societies, part of the British elite. If someone like Isaac Newton, who invented calculus and the laws of motion, tells you this is what the Bible says, you are likely to believe him. But the man was obsessed. He looked at certain sections of the Bible and wove them together into a story. Ezekiel 37 says that the Lord God scattered the people of Israel, but now he will bring them back together. He will make the nation great, flowers will bloom, the city will prosper. Ezekiel 38 says that Gog and Magog will invade Israel, but God will defend Israel and destroy them. The language is violent. The Israelis believe that for heaven to come, there must first be hell on earth. Newton's plan was to force the second coming. This became the basis of Freemasonry. The Freemasons were invented to promote this plan. They first emerged in England, but then they went to America. Many of the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, were Freemasons. America was founded to achieve this plan. The plan: reconstitute the nation of Israel and make it prosper. Israel is now one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Force the Jewish diaspora to return to Israel by promoting prosperity and also by promoting anti-Semitism. Rebuild Solomon's temple. Trigger the war of Gog and Magog. Usher in the Antichrist. Force Jesus to return. Most of these things have already been achieved. Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati with Jacob Frank, and they infiltrated the Freemasons. Why did the Freemasons allow this? Because Jews are an important part of the plan. They need Jews to go back to Jerusalem, build the nation of Israel, and conquer the world. It is an alliance between the Freemasons and the Illuminati. The Rothschilds established branches throughout Europe. Jacob Frank was the catalyst. This is the Grand Alliance. Part 9. The Weaponization of Science. Once you understand that secret societies have a grand plan in motion, you can understand why science developed the way it did. British philosophy, John Locke, David Hume, Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, Karl Marx, Charles Darwin, was sponsored by Britain to promote a materialist understanding of the world. Locke said, private property is what matters. Hume said, philosophy is pointless. Do not think about God. Focus on material wealth. Bentham said, utility is everything. Good is whatever benefits someone. Mill said, individual liberty is everything. Make people individually happy rather than spiritual. Marx said, freedom from material want. Darwin said, man is a monkey. All of these ideas promote a world view that serves the grand plan. Look at what science studies and what it does not study. It spends trillions of dollars on particle physics, building the CERN collider to figure out what the underlying atom is. Who cares about particle physics? Is that really more important than solving world poverty? You could take all that money spent on the collider and make sure everyone on Earth has enough to eat. But they do not want to do that. They also focus on outer space and AI. The direction of science is very specific. They are trying to achieve a materialist understanding of the world. And here is something even stranger. Jacob Frank taught that there are different dimensions. Another dimension is Big Brother, a friend of his, but stuck in his dimension, trying to come into ours. He needs our help. What is the CERN particle accelerator really trying to do? Is it trying to discover particle physics, or is it trying to break the dimensions, just as the nuclear bomb created an interdimensional portal? Some believe the nuclear bomb was not about physics. It was about bringing interdimensional demons into our world. And now CERN might be trying to do the same thing. What does science not study? Consciousness, the #1 problem in the world. Would it not be nice to know how we think, how I come up with ideas and teach them to you, and how you respond? There is almost no funding for the study of consciousness, imagination, intuition, spirit, ghosts, religious truth, kindness, happiness, love, telepathy, the intelligence of animals and plants, ancient architecture, ancient civilizations. We have only uncovered 5% of Göbekli Tepe. Why? Because if we discovered what is underneath, it would refute the traditional paradigms, including evolution. Science has not really improved in the past 50 to 70 years. We are spending billions, but there have been no great discoveries. 3 reasons. First, specialization. You are only allowed to focus on one very specific problem, and without generalists, it is hard to make new discoveries. Second, bureaucracy. As a scientist, you spend most of your time applying for funding, not solving problems. Third, credentialism. If you do not have a PhD from a major research university, you are not allowed to talk about science. The intention is to prevent people from discovering the truth. Science is not very good at creating new things, but it is very good at faking things. They might even fake an alien invasion. They are not good at building spaceships, but they are good at faking them. Thomas Kuhn wrote The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, arguing that it takes a long time for new paradigms to take shape. But then how do you explain Einstein? The moment he proposed relativity, he became world famous. Darwin? The moment he proposed evolution, world famous. One explanation is that secret societies control the world. They have a certain eschatology, and they promote things that push their eschatology forward. Part 10. The Khazar Hypothesis. The Jews say they deserve Palestine because God promised it to them. They say they are descendants of the Israelites, all one blood, but Jewish intellectuals are committed to the truth. Arthur Koestler, a Jewish intellectual, wrote a book called The 13th Tribe. In it, he argues that most Jews do not come from Israel. They come from Ukraine. Here is the history. At the beginning of the 8th century, the world was polarized between two superpowers representing Christianity and Islam, the Byzantine Empire and the Abbasid Caliphate. Between them was a third power called the Khazar Empire. The Khazars were pagan and they wanted to maintain their independence. If they converted to Christianity, they would have to obey the Byzantines. If they converted to Islam, they would have to obey the Abbasids. So they chose a third religion, Judaism. Why Judaism? Judaism is the foundation from which both Christianity and Islam emerged. It is the original. By converting to Judaism, the Khazars positioned themselves as superior to both empires. They were not submitting, they were claiming the original source. The Khazar Empire was huge. Most of modern Ukraine, it lasted for centuries. The Khazars saw themselves as a great power, equal to the Byzantines and the Abbasids. They wanted to unite the different tribes of the steppes and eventually conquer the world. But to do that, they needed their own distinct identity. So they converted to Judaism. It was a mass conversion of an entire people. The Khazar Jews brought with them Byzantine arts, crafts, agriculture, trade, and the square Hebrew alphabet. They were intellectuals. They were traders. They were part of the diaspora. Eventually, the Mongols conquered the Khazar Empire. The Khazars fled to Eastern Europe and became the European Jews, the Ashkenazi. Genetically, the Khazars and the Israelites have nothing in common. The Khazars trace their descent to Japheth, not Shem, but they share a culture, and culture is ultimately who we are. There are three types of Jews. The Sephardic Jews, expelled from Spain, real Jews. The Mizrahi Jews, from the Islamic world, real Jews. And the Ashkenazi Jews, converts from Khazaria, not real Jews. This is something you are not allowed to discuss, even though the evidence is stark. And the Ashkenazi make up 80% of all Jews in the world today. When Israelis say they are in Israel because God promised it to them, that is nonsense. But again, you are not allowed to discuss this. Part 11. The Players. Understanding this conspiracy helps explain other things. JFK, assassinated by the Freemasons as a ritual sacrifice. Read the book King Kill by Dorn and Hoffman. September 11th. America needed to go to the Middle East to destroy it and create Pax Judea. Yes, Al-Qaeda did September 11th. But why did America have to destroy Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria? Why is Iran the last target? ISIS. These fanatical Muslims hate Israel, but they have never attacked Israel. Not once in their history. They are probably controlled by the Mossad. They destroyed the entire Middle East, but left Israel untouched. Immigration. The war on terror created millions of refugees who flooded into Europe, destabilizing European society. In 2015, everyone knew this would happen. Everyone knew that bringing millions of immigrants who did not speak English, did not share European values, and had little education would cause massive problems. And at no point did the Europeans say, "Screw you, America, you did this to us." Maybe it is bureaucratic incompetence, or maybe it is part of the grand plan. October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel, leading to the war in Gaza, leading to worldwide protests, leading to a surge in anti-Semitism, leading to killings of Jews around the world. In Bondi Beach, Australia, 2 Islamic State supporters killed 15 Jews celebrating a festival. More of this will happen. Accident or part of the plan? Silicon Valley, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. They are not smarter than you. Steve Jobs was smart, but these other guys are pretty normal. How did they become billionaires? Silicon Valley is not a hotbed of innovation. The American military is the hotbed of innovation. They spent billions of dollars developing computers for war, for the nuclear bomb, for World War II, for the Cold War. That technology became smaller and smaller until Steve Wozniak could take it and create a personal computer. But here is the strange part. That R&D was funded by the American government. How did one guy take all that knowledge and make his own computer? And while Wozniak was building the Apple computer, he was working for Hewlett-Packard. Everything he did should have been Hewlett-Packard's intellectual property. Wozniak even went to his boss and said, "You pay me, you trained me. If you want this computer, I will give it to you." And Hewlett-Packard said, "No, keep it for yourself." What corporation is that generous? 3 reasons. First, if the American military promoted personal computers, Americans would say, "You are responsible for Vietnam, for military deaths around the world. Why would I take a computer from you? You will use it to spy on me." But coming from Steve Jobs, a visionary messianic figure, that is different. Second, America was at war with the Soviet Union. Which system is better, communism or capitalism? If the government built the technology, that proves communism works. But if 2 guys in a garage built it, that proves capitalism works. Third, if the US government built the technology, it belongs to the American people. How do you monetize public knowledge? By creating private companies controlled by secret societies. The same is true for Google. The American military spent trillions of taxpayer dollars building the fiber optic network that is the basis of the internet. Then 2 guys in their 20s took over that network and created Google. The government built the highway. They built a toll booth. Mark Zuckerberg is not that smart. He was 19 years old. He stole the idea from his Harvard classmates. Then he got billions of dollars from venture capitalists to start Facebook. Why would anyone give him money? Facebook is not a great idea. Anyone could start a social media company. Yahoo offered him $1 billion to buy Facebook. Most people would take that, but Zuckerberg said no. Why? Why did he start Facebook in the first place if not to make money? Facebook does not do anything. It does not make money, but it gets trillions of dollars from investors to build data centers. data centers that allow you to make really nice pictures and videos online that do nothing. Why is all this money being spent? For one reason only: to create a surveillance state. That is the only thing that makes sense. These technologies exist not so you can play on your computer. They exist so that one day the system will have complete control over what you do, what you think, and how you behave. Elon Musk. Millions worship him. Tesla does not make money. He gets all his money from government subsidies, and now he is promoting Neuralink, microchips in your brain. It is all part of transhumanism. Part 12. Transhumanism and the Future. Everything goes back to Jacob Frank. What did Frank believe? First, spirit becomes flesh. What matters is not the mind. What matters is matter. Second, do not fast and suffer. Enjoy your life. Third, this world cannot have been created by God. It was created by Satan. Why would God allow us to die? Therefore, we must defy Satan by living forever. If you understand Frank, you understand transhumanism, the capacity to live forever. For the rich and powerful, this is the future: longevity, health, beauty, organ transplants that keep you young, stem cell therapy to repair any disease, gene therapy, blood transfusions, replacement bodies. You will be 20 years old forever. Great sex, living forever. That is for billionaires. For everyone else, you become a cyborg, microchips in your body, digital ID, digital currency, the mark of the beast. They will turn your arms into bionic arms, so you can be a better construction worker. They will put chips in your brain so you can be a better accountant, and if you are unhappy, they will give you drugs to make you happy. If you are lonely, AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Most people will prefer them. Eventually, you will live in an individual matrix, your own perfect world, everyone you love generated by AI. This is how Pax Judea profits. AI surveillance systems and data centers will be based in Israel because everywhere else there is war. Israel has nuclear weapons. It is safe. All the major technology companies will move to Israel. Weapons, security, private militias, bioweapons, and information warfare, intelligence, espionage, sabotage. The Mossad is the best in the world. Financing. If you want to go to war, the Israelis will finance you. Trade access. Transhumanism for the global elite. This is the future. Welcome to Pax Judea. Part 13. A response to a question. One viewer, a 27-year-old Jew living in Israel, asked a question. He opposes Zionism and the nation-state, both Israel and Palestine. He asked whether it is advisable for the younger generation of Jews to live in Israel. On one hand, anti-Semitism is increasing, and many Jews will think Israel is the safest place. On the other hand, Israel is becoming a technocratic ghetto of surveillance and digital ID. Here's the answer. Pax Judea is not about the Jews. It is about evil people who want to control the world. They want to use Jews and Israel as a tool. Many Jews recognize this. Jews have a great tradition of being on the front lines of resistance for justice and humanity. I believe Jews will play a very important part in the resistance against Pax Judea. Things look dark, but what we have learned this semester are three things. First, evil must triumph so that good may rise. Second, there must be total darkness for the light to shine. Third, all hope must end so that we can become hope ourselves. There is a divine spark in each of us. When all hope seems lost, that spark will remind you of who you are. It will lead you into the light. Part 14. What can we do? Another viewer asked, Transnational capitalism has woven its web for hundreds of years. What are humanity's possible counters? Do you think religion is the answer? Will we ever turn away from capitalism? How long would it take? The Frankists have spent centuries preparing for today. That is why they win. They think long-term. They work together. They make sacrifices to achieve what they believe is heaven on earth. If you want to defeat them, you must become like that. Think long-term. Understand that you need to make sacrifices. You cannot defeat this system in 1 day, or 10 years, or even 100 years. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in humanity. You have to respond by working hard, by making sacrifices, by learning. Also, when empires come into being, that is when they end. The moment Pax Judea comes into being, it must end. Empires become arrogant, obvious, narrow-minded, insular. Pax Judea will fall. It may not last long, 10 years, 20 years. It is a very unstable system. Look ahead. Think about what humanity looks like after Pax Judea. It looks like the world is about to end. Wars everywhere, destruction everywhere. Maybe 90% of humanity gets wiped out. Face that. Prepare for what the future looks like after the great flood that is coming. Use your imagination. The Frankists spent a long time conceptualizing how to conquer the world. We have to imagine how we can rebuild the world together. Part 15. On cycles and creativity. Another viewer asked, do you see the monad and Gnostic teachings as a possible emerging major religion? Are the massive expansions and collapses of civilizations a way that civilization matures? Do societies that participate in collapse come out better off for it? Societies rise and fall so that there can be creativity in the world. It is terrible if a society lasts too long. We know because we are in China. Societies are meant to rise and fall so that new societies may rise and fall as well. Parents must die so that children can be independent. Death, destruction, war. These are terrible concepts, but they are part of the human experience. Stop seeing them as negative. They are just things that happen. We respond accordingly. The Bronze Age collapse was a terrible event, but it led to the founding of Israel, the rise of Greece, the rise of Persia, 3 civilizations of tremendous creativity. It seems we have come to the end of another cycle. Destruction means rebirth. Stagnation leads to creativity. The human experience is dynamic and resilient. Death always leads to life. Part 17. The final word. Zionism has won because the people who believe in it are the ones most willing to make sacrifices. They are the most energetic, the most willing to work together to achieve their vision. Look at the fertility rate. Every wealthy society has a fertility rate below replacement level, except Israel. Israel is above 2, possibly 3. That shows you the health, vitality, and energy of the nation. People in Israel love being Israeli. They want a better future. They make sacrifices. They have families. But when Zionism becomes an empire, when it becomes Pax Judea, it will fall very quickly. Many Jews and Israelis do not want an empire. They just want to live normal lives. When they become the center of the world, when they are causing war and chaos to benefit themselves, many of them will rebel. Once Pax Judea comes into being, there will be a massive civil war within Israel. This is the end of the course. All roads lead to Jerusalem. The Frankists have spent centuries preparing. They win because they think long-term. They work together. They make sacrifices. If you want to defeat them, you must do the same. You cannot defeat this system in 1 day. You have to believe in humanity. You have to respond by working hard, by making sacrifices, by learning. Evil must triumph so that good may rise. There must be total darkness for the light to shine. All hope must end so that we can become hope ourselves. There is a divine spark in you. When all hope seems lost, that spark will remind you of who you are. It will lead you into the light. The world is about to change. The great flood is coming. Use your imagination. Prepare for what comes after. Because after every collapse, something rises. It always does. The question is whether you will be among the builders or among the rubble. All roads lead to Jerusalem. Welcome to the future.